all the big calls on all the big races. And it's up to the Naysmire. The last chance in 2022 for a proper flat festival. York Ebor meeting, as we call it, is here. Here we are on a Tuesday then on What a Shout, the Racing Post flagship feature weekend show filmed somewhere in the capital. Yes, Tuesday. That means we're going to preview all the big races at York this week, right up to the Saturday card. Some absolute whoppers. Best horses in the world running? I think so. Right, let's go straight down it then. Like and subscribe, of course, if you're on YouTube watching. That's the way you can get all your comments in below. The panellists do read them. And what a panel we have. Oisin Murphy joins us back. Royal Ascot. You've even spent a Saturday with us. We are becoming rather pally now, Oisin.
Yeah, very kind to have me on. I'm really pleased to be here. York is one of the best weeks of the year. The pressure is off after Royal Ascot, and this is one I tend to enjoy.
Oh, I see. That's how the jocks look at it, you see. You get the sort of Goodwoods out the way, isn't it? This is just like, look. Well, I mean, you say that because we've got the Jumpmont International. That's just a big moment still.
A very important race, and obviously the Nunthorpe as well, but I just feel like the pressure cooker of the every race, every day environment that's associated with the meetings earlier in the season isn't the same at York.
Well, let's find if that's the same for our resident tipster in the house. Pressure off Keels this week?
No, pressure's always on, especially if you've banged in a load of losers like I did at the weekend. So, you've got to try your best. But I mean, York is arguably every bit as hard as Royal Ascot, harder than Goodwood for sure. You do get some funny results, but I mean, a lot of fun works out there as well.
That's interesting, isn't it? We'll come back to that.
And of course, we've got the one problem is we've now got the spectre of rain.
Oh, finally.
Some of it could fall any day. Now, we don't know. I mean, they've obviously have to walk with the course, otherwise everything would be bone hard. But we don't know how much they're going to get, when they're going to get it. Hamilton's gone soft today, for instance. So, if they get a lot, all change.
We've been praying for it from our sponsors. Pat Cooney joins us back on the panel. Pat, priced up all the races we're doing?
Yeah, and there's something magical about this York meeting, I think. You go from Ascot to Goodwood and now on to York, and thankfully all the stars look like they're going to turn up and run, Baid, Stradivarius and so forth, and you're seeing some high quality juveniles, so it's a real talent-packed 4 days ahead of us.
Just keeping with you, Pat, Keels mentions the weather, and of course we've all been praying for this drought to end. I think we can all agree on that. Such a dusty summer we've had. So difficult has it been for the clerks of the courses. I think we can all agree out there pretty much the clerks this summer have really earned their corn. From a bookmaker's perspective, do you start to get a little bit excited about the fact it might get even trickier for punters?
Yeah, that's it. What we have tend to find, Dave, is that when we put the prices out on the 5-day declaration stage, it's relatively quiet because, like Keel said, don't know what the ground's going to be and so forth. But once you get to the final decks, then it really does kick off, and then we all get savvy with the draw and go-in biases and so forth. So it's becoming more of an on-the-day product than an anti-post product.
Big fields, though. That's one thing that we're not seeing in abundance. We can expect them this week. We've got the 3-time champion jockey here. We may as well ask him a few questions. York, all right, pressure's off. They say it's the fairest track in the land. I mean, configuration-wise, it ought to be. But it's not, because we never know what the jocks are going to do. Every single time we think we've got you licked, you go and change it up. Why is that?
I'm unsure. Keels was asking me earlier as well, why do we go up the middle and Pat, and I don't know, I just follow the leader. I haven't made the running that much at York. Yeah. I tend to enjoy riding good horses there. I think my strike rate last year wasn't that great, but in the past I've been leading rider at this meeting, so it's a wonderful meeting. I feel like the crowd there are really into their racing, and as I said earlier, the pressure that exists earlier on in the season isn't really the same.
I went a couple of years ago and I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it, Pat. You've got a couple of questions, Roshi, because it's not just the round track where they come for some reason down the middle, sometimes stand side, sometimes on the far side, but it's the sprint track we never get right either.
Yeah, the sprint, well, there's 3 sprints on the opening day, Oisin, and the field sizes are 22, 19 and 20. What is a good draw there? I know people say it depends where the pace is.
Yeah.
But if I said to you, pick a number, where do you want to be drawn in that 20-runner handicap, what would you say?
Beside the front runner.
Where the pace is?
Yeah, genuinely. Obviously, you could find after a few days or a few races that there's one section of the track that seems to be favouring a certain type of horse. But But as a rule, I just want to be drawn beside the one that's going to drag me into it for quite some time.
Okay. And the other thing I was keen to ask you about, at York, there's crowds on both sides of the track. Does that affect an inexperienced juvenile, just hearing a bigger roar?
Yeah, I mean, I won the convivial on Huyamal at this meeting last year, and he got quite upset going to post. But to be honest, it's a wide enough track that when you race up the middle, they don't really focus on anything else rather than going forward. Pulling up, sometimes they can jink at people leaning over the rails, you know. But as a rule, they should go in a straight line and concentrate.
Oh, okay.
Shall we find out what's going to go in a straight line then, and hopefully in first, in our first of races. So 10 races coming your way now. Buckle up, get your notepads out. And on the Wednesday, we start off in the 3 o'clock. It's the Great Voltigeur, Pat Cooney.
Yeah, and an intriguing race. 6 runners go to post. Secret State is the favourite. Charlie Appleby, William Buick, the progressive handicapper in the race. Now, if you go on official ratings, he's probably second bottom, but he's got that potential about him. So how do you want to play it? Do you want to go with the progressive type or the solid types, like a Deauville legend, who you know is going to run his race? Aidan O'Brien, just with one runner in the race, Acal, who came of age, I thought, last time out. But I was going to ask Oisin, how much of a jump is it from handicap to Group 2?
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge jump, particularly, you know, handicappers often they've shown their level of form, and you can be appear to be very good in one, whereas in group races, particularly this sort of race, there's lots of improving horses. I actually had a good look through this, and I felt Deauville Legend's run at Goodwood was very good with a penalty.
Yeah.
And I'd be siding with him if I had a choice of anything in the race.
That's interesting, Kills, and let's bring you in because him and Secret State have, of course, have got that Ascot handicap form.
Yeah, they have, yeah. And I think, you know, Secret State's one of those. He keeps on improving with every run, doesn't he? For finding a little bit more. And it looked like the finishes were coming to him, but he was actually going away again at Goodwood, wasn't he? So, you know, he's obviously very useful. But this is a massive step up. I mean, you know, I think Inverness was third, running off 89 or something in that race at Goodwood. You know, we're talking about horses rated 109. Like, you know what I mean? You know, it's a lot different. And I think he's short enough for what he's done. And I actually think the O'Brien horse is the one that's being underestimated here, Acal.
Is it Acal? We'll call him Acal.
Actually, I'll call him Acal anyway.
I don't actually know.
Anyway.
Who knows?
You know, he was fourth in Group 1 in France last year, and you know, a bit of a strange comeback. You know, from first time out running in the St James's Palace Stakes as a 50-1 shot when he made, you know, basically made the run in.
Over a mile.
Over a mile.
Yeah.
Now, he's by Galileo. The dam is a half-sister to Latrobe, who won the Irish Derby. So he steps up to a mile and 2 furlongs next time, and he wins easily. He won by, 4.5, 4 3/4 lengths or whatever it was. The third came out and won a Group 3 on Friday.
Yeah.
So I think the form is solid. I think it's easy enough to argue that that's the best piece of form in a race, in my eyes. And you know, he was going right away at the death, you know, and another 2 furlongs, I think, will suit.
I can see you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, the reason he would have ran at Ascot, I don't know why in the St James's Palace, was because his owner is South African and they were over for the meeting.
Right. He was the one that caused all the carnage on the inside coming back. Yeah. Maljoon, for example, all those guys. Yeah. It was him. I watched that back. I agree, Kills. He's got the best figure in the race, so I couldn't work out why with you, Pat, he was 13-2. He's now been smashed in.
Yeah, and I think this is just one of these races where, I mean, Secret State has been a well-backed winner of his races. It's Charlie Appleby. The public do latch onto his horses. But when you get the final declarations through, you are left thinking, oh, I don't know about this. Is he a bet at round about 2-1? You'd rather lay him than play him, really, at 2-1, I think. So I could see him drifting somewhat in the market. But of course, you have to take them seriously. But you could make a plausible case out for others, I think.
So we're all taking on the first fad, Secret State, the relentless winning machine. We'll never learn, will we?
Never loses, yeah, but we're
never loses. Well, one horse that never ever loses, will he lose on Wednesday? This is the acid test in the 335, isn't it? The Juddmonte International Bide comes out then, the best horse in the world, according to the rankings, although some people might have Mishriff very, very close to him, Pat. We're now down to 6 guys because Alan Kerr comes out, which is a shame, isn't it? Because it looks like he'd have had some better ground. He was second in the race last year to Mishriff. Pat, what's the market saying about the Great Bide?
Well, he's 2-5, and he's a horse. I still don't know how good he is, really. I was saying to you earlier that in 10 years' time when someone says to you, how good was Bide, the answer might well be, I don't know, really. But this is a big test for him. We've all been waiting for him to go up in trip. What will make the run in? I'm not sure what will go on, Oisin, here, really. I suppose at 2 to 5, you could let him run at 2 to 5. There's other markets there. Betting without him, Mishref is 4 to 6, Native Trail 15 to 8. Mishref, if you just watch his run of a year ago, you'd have to say, wow, that's probably going to go very well. I just think this is just too hard a race to call. Is he a bet? I can't say he'd be a bet because there's too many unknowns about him, but I was wondering, actually, what will make the run in here?
Yeah, Keel's just said high definition is most likely. I don't know how they'll ride Native Trail. I think they're very certain that he's going to stay 10 furlongs.
Yeah.
And I think they'd like to leave all the excuses at home now and just keep it very straightforward on him. Mishref will take a toe as he always does, and Baaid will follow for as long as he wants to. The bottom line is if they go slow, it'll probably play into Baaid's hands.
So if you were Jim Crowley, would you just follow Mishref?
If I was Jim Crowley, I'd have no fears at all, to be honest. I'd just be worried about going down slow and then wherever he's comfortable in the race and just keeping it as simple as I like. I mean, I'm not saying that I think Baaid deserves to be 2 to 5 and I fancy him to win the race. I know Keels has a different selection, but you know, I don't think Jim Crowley should feel under too much pressure. He's not messed up on the horse before. He's had a perfect record and you know, I don't think they need to be thinking about complicating it.
You said the pressure was off for jockeys, but this is probably Jim Crowley's. He's going to be having a sleepless night on Tuesday, isn't he, because of what could possibly go wrong, no matter who he is, surely. I mean, this is potentially 10 from 10, isn't it? And this is the one we've all been waiting for this season. He's bred, obviously, to be... Why is he running over a mile on pedigree? It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we could just see something very, very special. I was talking to you, Pat, when we came in the office. The excellent Kevin Morley in his Trends column on Wednesday will show you that this is the race where if you want to be trying the trip for the first time, historically, a lot of the winners have never tried it. Right. Rather than the Eclipse, which Kills is going to go on about in a minute, with Mishref and Native Trail, which is usually the pathway to this race. I don't think he's going to get beaten, actually. Kills, you've said so much about it in print.
I think there are enough unknowns to question, to be honest. And you know, it starts with a bit like over jumps. Altior spent his entire life beating average horses over 2 miles.
Did you try and take Altior on, like I did See the Stars? Is this one of those classic years?
With surname, yes. I mean, you know, the parallels are quite obvious because here you have a horse, you know, an unbeaten horse, but going up in trip for the first time against the best horse he's ever run against, who has his best form at that track over that trip.
But he comes off a stinker, doesn't he?
Well, no, but was it a stinker? It was only a stinker. But, you know, my issue with him is he could lose it at the start.
That's the problem.
He has been slow away on at least his last 3 runs, but as David Egan was ready for him, especially in the Eclipse, you see him chasing him just as the stall's open. All right, now, with a new jockey, I wouldn't blame the jockey, but he just caught him by surprise, and that was it. All right, but the splits he ran faster than Westover and Broome from the 2, 3...
So the engine was still there.
2, 3 and 4. Right, to make up the ground, right? And everyone says, wow, they went too fast, that's why they finished out the back of the telly. So he's lost that ground, made it up ridiculously quickly, still managed to finish third. I don't think he ran badly at all. He lost any chance he had at the start, and then by making up the ground miles too quickly. Right? Now, he could lose it again. He could be going a little bit up there.
That's what I want to ask Oisin about in a sec,
There's a potential for him to do that. But let's not forget, despite the slowish break at Sandown, if he'd got a clear run, he'd have won. He'd have beaten Verdini, he'd have beaten Native Trail.
Yeah, and that Pat Cooney is in the without market, which a lot of people will be looking at now, of why Mishref is such a warm order over Native Trail.
Yes, you go back to the Eclipse and you'd have to say Mishref was probably the moral winner of the race, and of course he was ahead of Native Trail, albeit only narrowly. But as we're going to ask Oisin, we're making excuses for Mishref now, aren't we? That judgment of a year ago is excellent, but we're going, I'm not quite sure.
Let's not forget that. Yeah, it was a year ago. But he was rated the joint highest rated horse in Europe afterwards.
Yes.
Look, proper animal, and this is his playground, as we know.
Exactly. So this is the best horse he's ever run against over a trip he's never run over. Now, He may well improve for it, but again, it's just opinion. We know on pedigree he might, but there's loads of horses that defied their pedigree in different ways.
The producers said to me coming in, right, this will be the race that we just dust over. Not in a million years.
Not in a million years,
Not
no.
in a million years. We've
We
got a
can't
2 to
do
5
that.
shot. Thank God someone thinks he's going to get beat. You know, that would be a bit boring, wouldn't it?
You know, let's face it, right? If another horse had beaten Modern Games by 11 3/4, we wouldn't be going, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Would we?
So-
But you know what I mean? There was no wow factor in that race at Goodwood for me at all.
I wonder whether this is when we're going to see the wow factor. But like I mentioned, the aforementioned Cedar Stars, the reason, very quickly, why I kept trying to get him beaten was because he wasn't flashing. And I thought to myself, even when he beat Master Craftsman, I thought I had him beat going into the final third.
I don't do the not. I don't like this not flashy just does enough nonsense that people come out with. It's rubbish, right? The only time, you know, when people talk about horse idling, right? It's only opinion, unless
Well, you could go on for
unless you see a horse pull up in front and then go away again. And now Cedar Stars actually did that against Whit Van Winkle in the Eclipse. Right? But we haven't seen I keep getting told that Baid only just does enough, doesn't win by wide margins. Last year he won by 4.5 lengths, 6.5 lengths and 7.5 lengths. And why did he do that?
Yeah.
Because the standard of opposition wasn't as good as the ones he's running against now.
There is a
now he's
theory
only
that
winning
they
by
thought
2
the ground
lengths.
is too fast for him, though. So
Well,
no excuses on Wednesday,
We'll see.
right?
We'll
see.
We'll find out. But
This is so exciting, isn't it?
There's 2 horses that can win the race. One of them's 4-1, and his best form's out the track.
You have him finishing
taking
second
him.
without question. So
Oh,
4 to 6 on him without
no,
market.
you know, let's
Yeah.
you know, don't make any bones about it. There's no doubt that Bailey deserves to be a short price favourite.
Yeah, I must
I think
admit,
if he's vulnerable, it's going to be to Mishriff.
I
there.
hovered over that without market, and I wanted to take something on with Mishriff in that market, but it's very, very difficult to oppose him in the without market. He's 4 to 6 on, Pat, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Oisin, if you were riding Mishriff, you've seen him do this at the start. If you're having your first ride like the Doyle was at Ascot, of course, what do you do? What are you thinking when you go up?
I'll tell you a secret. I think James Doyle has been on Mishriff to do some stalls practice since his last start.
Right, there you are. So, all right, you're delighted to hear that then.
Well, yeah, but it's still up to the horse, isn't it? But now James Doyle's going to be ready for him
Yeah.
at the same time. So, you know, hopefully they will think about who's going to make the pace, and they might not run away from him in the first furlong as well.
I hope you enjoyed that draw breath. Look, this is literally fly on the wall stuff, and we could have gone on and on and on, and thank God it got a little bit heated. This is what it's all about. So 3 for Baid, one for the burst bubble. Gills is absolutely licking his lips at this. Go to Thursday then. I'm nearly halfway through this. What a shout preview for you of York all week. And we've got to go to the Lowther Stakes, 6 furlongs, 225, even money shot dramatised after breaking the clock in the Queen Mary, Pat Cooney.
Yes, visually very impressive in the Queen Mary. It's not her fault the form hasn't worked out very well, is it? But she can at least point to the time and say, that's how fast I ran. I get it, she's moving up in trip, an extra furlong, and maybe draw 1. Not sure, that's one for Sheen to guide us on with the draw. Is she the best filly in the race? Yeah, probably. Would I back her at evens? Not really in a race like this, but it's going to be interesting. I think there'll be good each way angles in the race, but dramatised. She could have gone in the Nunthorpe. Will she get 6? That's the unproven thing, we don't know. So we don't know about the trip and we don't know about the draw, but is she the best talent-wise in the race? I'd say yes.
Yeah, the clock certainly suggested so. She still looks a bit green at Ascot. Stall 1 then, at York. You wouldn't be bothered about this at all?
Not really on her. I don't think they ever planned to wrestle her and try and get cover. I think Danny Tuddup on her first 2 starts let her roll from the gate and wherever she was comfortable, and it will be the same again.
Do you expect her to win?
I hope she wins. I think it's good for the race, unbeaten horse, and she has a little bit of wow factor.
Yeah.
I understand her Queen Mary form hasn't stood up, but if she were to win this impressively, we'd all be saying what a good filly she is.
Yeah, let's look at that form, Kills, because lots of horses hit the line hard in that to register a decent time figure. It's almost like they ran a bit too hard, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they could have all taken backward steps, but there's enough of them who have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's the worry. Now, you know, it's perfectly plausible that Dramatize is a very good winner of an average race, and she turns out to be the best 2-year-old filly around. Perfectly plausible, but she's even money, you know, based on the form of a race that hasn't worked out, and that is not the way I'll bet ever. Like, you know what I mean? So I've got to look somewhere else. Now the Albany Stakes, the one by Meditate, who I was looking forward to backing, she didn't make it.
So
that has worked out really well. Obviously Morge is in the race here. She's won a Group 2 since. The 5th home, Sydney Arms Chelsea, won a Group 3 in France afterwards as well. It's a far more solid piece of form. So I do give Morge a shout, but I was pretty keen on Kinter actually, who who ran second at Ascot last time to Lazoo, who ties in closely with Morge, and that was only a second ever run, and she got actually shuffled back early on, and she came from way back to finish second. I thought it was a really, really promising run, and I give her a shot at turning that form around, and I think she's going to be the value against Dramatised. I'm perfectly prepared to see Dramatised hack up, but I couldn't back her given the way the form has worked out.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be like that out there. Of course, it will be great for the game, and then she'll go on to the Sheevey Park, etc. We could have something very exciting on our hands. I was going to be with Meditate as well, so I'll sit this one out. So let's go to the 3 o'clock then, the Clipper Logistics Handicap. One of 2 handicaps we're following for you this week. Of course, the Ebor being the final race. This is the stepping stone to the Cambridgeshire. All the old favourites there. Who are we expecting to head the market? Maybe a Busala or something like that?
Well, it's up for grabs, isn't it? Who's going to be favourite for this race, and indeed what'll win it. They're all there with perfectly solid chances, really. My eye was drawn to Cruyff Turn in the race of Tim Easterby, David Allen, stable and jockey at the top of the game at present. Horse won this race last year of 95, won handily enough, I think a length and a bit. Now is of 100. You'd imagine he's been mapped out for this race, so you need a few darts at the board on this one, but he would be one of my 3.
The Golden Mile looks to be the sort of key for this, unsurprisingly, Keels. But before I come to you for your pick or picks, Shining Blue's a horse that I'm quite interested in. For Saib Bin Surah. Do you know much about this chap? He won his first couple of starts and then he went to the Golden Mile. He was absolutely drawn out of it. Frankie's on it. I was hoping that, you might be close enough to give me a word on
No, I'm
this.
sorry, I know nothing about him. I have been against Orban all season, and finally I've sided with him. Jason Watson keeps the ride. I think the horse is still fairly treated, ish, and yeah, he's obviously in very good form.
You wouldn't have had
Put his head down when we were for the
Shergar Cup, yeah.
Shergar Cup, didn't he?
I mean,
put his head down anyway.
Could stank in the market, but just in a great place at the moment, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. From looking like a difficult horse all his life to looking like the most straightforward horse alive, didn't he? You know what I mean?
They got the second from the Golden Mile as well, Blue for you.
Listen, the interesting thing about it is the second from the Golden Mile is Blue for You. He had an inside draw there, which he's got again. But he had a dream run through right until the end, basically, when he just couldn't get out. Right? And he's a 4-year-old, so he's 6-1 favourite. Right? The horse who finished third in that race, if he was a 4-year-old, he'd be one of the 6-1 favourites as well. But is he a 6-year-old? And everyone thinks he's exposed. That's Revich. Now, he come to finish third from stall 15. He's run an absolute cracker. Right? If that was a one-off, I'd be inclined to ignore it. But he's actually won career best on RPRs in his last 3 starts in decent company. And he's among the rags here. Just doesn't deserve to be. Whether he's got enough up his sleeve off his mark to be winning a race like this, I do not know, but he's definitely the wrong price.
He's a bit of a painful project for me. Every time I think he's going back to Chester to win, then
I must admit, I've got a bit soft spot for him because when I went up to the yard pre-Royal Ascot, I met him.
Did you?
Yeah.
He took a shine to you,
Yeah, and him. I actually preferred Mr. Big Stuff because he just stood there and put his head in my hands.
Another head case that you've got on with.
But no, he was a lovely horse. But he's just run really, really honest races on his last 3 starts, and he's out there priced up with a load of out-of-form horses, and he ain't one of them.
Love it. All right, that's the Clipper Logistics then at 3 o'clock. A couple of darts for you then. We love these big handicaps where they keep turning up time and time again. Let's get back up to Group Company, shall we? Because, of course, it is another Group 1 on the week of the Derby. Yorkshire Oaks, no Emily up. John, of course, Pat, jury's out with her. Albany Stakes, another winning machine currently heading your market.
Winning machine for sure, yeah. Great to have Sir Mark Prescott in a Group 1. Yes, lots of ones by a name, perfectly solid form, highest rated in the race on official ratings. So where's the but? Well, is it a 3-year-olds race this? Of the last 7 winners have all been 3-year-olds. Enable as a 5-year-old. 7 of the last 8 have been 3-year-olds. Enable bucked that trend, fair enough. Do 5-year-olds win the race? Apart if you're as good as Enable, you do. So again, solid profile. She's going to be round about a 2-to-1 chance in the race. Plenty of depth amongst the 3-year-olds, isn't there? Magical Lagoon, Tuesday. The fascinating horse, though, is Raclette of Andre Farbes, who, when she won both her races as a juvenile, I thought, oh, well, maybe this is Monsieur Farbes' Guineas winner for next year. And then it didn't quite happen for her first 2 runs this season. And she's work to do on the form book. Now, I get it's a Juddmonte meeting. She's owned by Juddmonte. They would be keen for her to run in the race like this. But you don't tell Andre Fabre to run horses, do you? You ask him to run, I would have thought, wouldn't you, Oisin? So the fact that they've supplemented, he clearly feels that she's worth having a crack at the race, and she'll be degree of value. And of course, there's so many people like myself, huge Andre Fabre fans. We're not going to let this filly go off at a massive price, so there'll be plenty of money around for her because it's Monsieur Fabre.
That perked your interest when we saw that she'd been declared with Pallier on.
Yeah, I saw her enter in the race and I was unsure whether she was going to run or not. I don't think her form is good enough to mix it with the likes of Alpinista. She might come out and run a career best and run very well. I respect the trend that older horses don't have a great record in the race. I just think Alpinista is very straightforward. She's incredibly consistent and she's achieved plenty, and I'd like to see her go and win.
All right, okay. Alpinista kills. You like this one?
Yeah, well, she just doesn't do anything wrong, does she? She keeps winning. There's 4 Group 1s on the spin now, isn't it? Like, you know, I mean,
We've not seen her much here, though, have we?
No, we haven't. No, she's done her travels, but she's run against Colts as well. Like, you know, I mean, she's got victories over Torquato
Tasso, yeah.
like, you know, so I read a right meal of that one, didn't I?
We got there in the end. But there's a lot of slop on the ground there when she was winning, wasn't there?
Yeah, but you can look right down her form. She's won on firm ground as well. Like, you know what I mean? I just think she's one of those really, really versatile, top-class horses who keeps on pulling it out. Raclette is quite interesting. I mean, Judd Monty aren't the sort of owners that just want a runner. Like, you know, she's supplemented for a reason. She's obviously doing all the right things now that she probably wasn't doing in the spring. And outside of Alpinista, it might not be the strongest. I mean, you know, I think, you know, I understand Tuesday's Oaks form, but I mean, at the end of the day, the best horse in the Oaks was Nashua. And she just didn't stay that day.
Yeah, the Oaks form's looking like it's got holes in it.
Yeah.
Nashua.
Yeah, I think so. So I thought it was Alpinista. I respect Magical Lagoon because I just think she's tough. But I think class edges with Alpinista.
Yeah, she's got a lovely attitude, Magical Lagoon, and she keeps looking beaten. I was tempted to give Tuesday another chance. In the last 20 years, 3-year-olds mainly win this. Alpinista just keeps winning. I don't know. Le Petit Coco is a horse that impressed me last time.
Ruler of the world.
Yeah. How she won that first time up, that Group 1, she must be some tough cookie, I think. Her best form potentially could be over this trip as well going forward. So for the 2 yard, I thought 6-1. I don't think there's much between her and Alpinista that she will do for me. That's Thursday. Right then, the Friday, we're really flying through the meeting now. And perhaps the race of the week. Yes, we've got Baid. Yes, we've got the Nunthorpe. Yes, we've got the extremely valuable competitive Ebor. But the Lonsdale Cup sees Stradivarius go for a 4th win in the race. Wasn't it marvellous, Oisin, to see him come back at Goodwood like that? Your great friend Andrea Azzini got back on him. He keeps the ride. And he said to me last week, perhaps if things had gone differently, I might have come out on top. He's got Trushan against him. This is obviously his playground again. Do you just see him winning?
Andrea's riding incredibly well. It's his best season for quite some time, and he's clearly riding with plenty of confidence. I think he can give him every chance of winning, and hopefully that's good enough.
It will be interesting to see Trushan if he turns up, guys. Hopefully the ground will be in his favour. Gills, let's come to you with this before we go to Pat for likely prices. He's never been to the Knavesmire, of course. He's a horse that can get a little bit lit up beforehand, all that sort of thing. If they all turned up.
Yeah, I mean, one of those Trushan, I think, is that Racing Keenly is one of those horses where it just doesn't bother him in the slightest.
As we saw at Newcastle, I guess.
That's just the way he is. He tugs his way through races. Doesn't matter. You know, and I don't know whether some horses just pull their head around and they're not actually fighting.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because having never really sat on a horse, I wouldn't know that. But I don't think he loses a lot of energy doing what he does. What he does need is softer ground, and the ground was very fast at Goodwood, too fast. And you know, I think unless it's good ground, and given good, if there's any F in the description, he ain't going.
Yeah.
You know, so
not
all
after
depends,
Goodwood, I don't think.
All depends what happens. And he ran his race, but you know, the more cut there is in the ground, the better he is. So without it, I think Stradivarius will win. And you know, I see a lot of people sort of criticising the owner, saying, "Well, why don't we stay around for another year?" Well, why not?
As a 9-year-old, it would just be remarkable.
Why the hell not? Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You know, sometimes it doesn't matter if your unbeaten run sequence comes to an end. If you're still being competitive, and you cannot argue that he hasn't been competitive, he's just happened to get beat.
Yeah.
You know, so why not keep him going? If he's enjoying it, why not?
I'll tell you one horse that might give him a run, Pat Cooney, is Tashcan of Brian Ellison's, who I think has been waiting. for some slightly better ground. And if you look back at that Gold Cup run, he really caught my eye at the top of the home straight. He probably just got outstayed.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those horses that he's probably better than his profile would suggest. And you look on official ratings, he's 115, Stradivarius is 118. Now, you wouldn't have thought necessarily it's just £3 between them. Of course, Truchan is highest rated of them all. But this is a race where it's just literally all about the weather, isn't it? If it's soft, Truchan's going to shorten up. But on the basis, Stradivarius, he looked as good as ever, didn't he, last time out? My one maybe worry with the pair of the front two, they must have had a hard race because it was a real thriller, wasn't it, from a long way out that day. But scratching around trying to say, can we get them both beat? Not sure. Coltrane was behind that day. He seems to still be improving. I just thought, if I was a jockey, I'd rather be Andrea Rezzini in this race.
Yeah, I think the market bears that out as well.
Yeah.
So look out for Truchan. If he doesn't run, we could be seeing another odds-on shot. And Strad going for a fourth win. Most of us think he'll do it. Let's go to the gym crack then, guys. To 3 o'clock, it's the sprinters. It's basically the male version of Louth of this. And at the moment, Persian Force is Jock Ross Orion on, of course. Saw the backside and fresh air of Little Big Bear. What did you make of that, guys? Royal Scotsman, of course, coming out from the Richmond success. Looked the real deal. And the Coles said basically he's the fastest 2-year-old around at the moment. And then, of course, we're looking at the likes of Marshman for Carl Burt, potentially. Pat?
Yeah, market at the moment is headed by Noble Style, but this is a race where, the main protagonists bring a real high level of form to the table. Noble Style, again, it's easy to make a horse like him favourite. 2 wins from 2 runs, Godolphin, Charlie Appleby. You know the public are going to latch onto him. Persian Force, well, we'll find out how good that form is if he does run. The Aidan O'Brien horse looks sensational. I was very impressed with Royal Scotsman when he won last time. I know he was favourite and he was entitled to win, but I always think it's quite telling when trainers get interviewed afterwards. Paul Cole, trained Derby winners. He seemed very, very high on this horse. So I thought, OK, I'll go with that. And you could say Royal Scotsman, maybe his form is the best form out there, but high-class race, preference would be, for me, for Royal Scotsman, though.
This could be a cracker, Keels, couldn't it?
Could be, yeah. Yeah, it could be a very good race. Noble Style. I'm not 100% sure about Noble Style. I won last time, but
I wasn't expecting that on his comeback.
No, but Millstream's probably okay, isn't it? But yeah, it doesn't really excite me as much as he did first time. Now, obviously, he'd obviously had issues to not be able to come out until that time, so it may be worth forgiving. I did like Royal Scotsman at Goodwood. I did think he was a good thing that day, and my only worry about his opponents was Alcaraz. Now, I thought Alcaraz ran an absolute blinder for his second start in a group race. First time in a group race on a track like Goodwood, and he had to wait to get through, and he picked up really nicely. Now, there's no doubt whatsoever that Royal Scotsman was well on top at the end, but I think he's an improver, and I think he's quite a big price to turn the form around.
8 of the last 10 of these previous winners had not taken in Royal Ascot. Noble Style, of course, was supposed to go to the Coventry. He looks a bit rusty on his comeback at the July course. Is he one that you like, or are you looking for someone like Marshman or maybe Clearpoint that's unbeaten and not shown the mettle yet?
No, I agree with the lads. I thought Noble Style was an absolute airplane when I saw him win it first time at Ascot. I'm a little bit worried about his temperament. I think he could get quite hot. Royal Scotsman has missed nothing. Thought he was a little bit unlucky at Royal Ascot on the wing. He over-raced for much of it. He got the job done nicely at Goodwood. If I could ride anything in the race, it would be him.
It'd be fascinating to see the final prices, I think, for this viewers, wouldn't it? Because if one of them comes out, then it could upset the market a lot. But if they all stand their ground, I'm agreeing with the guys. I think Royal Scotsman should be fab. Just a word for Marshman. I loved him last time out of Thurston. I'll be very excited to see him. 3:35 then. It's the big one, maybe of the week, isn't it? Of course, the biggest sprint for a lot of people is the Nunthorpe each year. 5 furlong burn up. Interesting race this year, Pat Cooney. We've got a hot pot who's never really tried this sort of class. She's totally unbeaten. It's Royal Acclaim. Where does the market sit with her? We've got a 2-year-old pushing her in the Platinum Queen.
Yeah, this is a tricky race really to look at, I think, because you look at a filly like Royal Acclaim, I think we have to get away from, this isn't a vintage, you don't have to be the best on the day. You look at Royal Acclaim, 3 runs, 3 wins. How good is she? Don't really know. I know visually when she won at York last time out, you thought, wow, that was ultra impressive. But again, you can find flaws in the performance. But that being said, how deep a race is this? You've got no Golden Pals and no Nature Things and what have you. So I think she's favourite. She's around about 6-4 at the moment. But, does she tick every box? Not quite sure. She's just had the 3 runs. This is the first time she'll be taking on horses that are very, very quick as well. On balance, at prices, I think she's opposable. I don't know what with. The Platinum Queen, she ultra impressive at Goodwood. Again, 8 stone. Royal Acclaim's got 9 stone 8, £22 you have to give. That sounds an awful lot to me. And the Platinum Queen's got Holly Doyle aboard, so you're getting, the proper jockey on that one. Scratch below the surface, I don't know. I would rather take the front 2 on, really, at their current prices. And if you throw in the likes of, say, Kadeem, Emirata Anna even, I'm looking to get the front 2 beat because I just think they're too short a price.
Oisin, we were speaking about this when you first came in. I said, what do you reckon about this? It does look tough, doesn't it? I mean, it's a head scratcher. Royal Acclaim, every time she's run, obviously they wanted to go to, we've heard James Tate, the trainer, say this week, we wanted to go to Royal Ascot. She was lame. We've taken her time with her. The pressure is on, but what she's doing at home is absolutely fantastic. In a normal year, and I say a normal year, like an international raider or more recent Group 1 form, or hitting the frame in a Group 1, she wouldn't be fav, would she? But she's so it's style over substance here. Which way are you going?
I like the 2-year-old, and I think it's very good for the race that she's going to take her chance. And I think the weight for age is, a really good incentive. And I'm going to stay with Platinum Queen.
We get excited, don't we, about 2-year-olds? Acapulco nearly did it, of course. And
the thing about her is, she was very, very fast, but she's going from a novice race straight into a Group 1.
Yeah.
It's not like she won the Moulcom. Now, I know she won in a slightly faster time than the Moulcom, and she might be really, really good, but beating up average horses in a smallish field is completely different to running in what's likely to be a 20-run and Nunthorpe. Now, we all know that none of them are very good. Royal Acclaim's got to be the worst price of any horse running anywhere.
But she could be very good. That's what you're betting.
She's got. She has a high top speed figure of 67.
Well, she beat Mondomedge.
And that'd be well over £30 lower than any other Nunthorpe winner going into the race in the past 10 years. I was just going through it then just to check. Virtually everyone's got something over 100. She's run 3 times, got a best figure of 67. So she certainly hasn't done it on the clock. Now, she beat Mondomedge by 2 lengths last time. Let's not forget, Mondomedge is 25-1 to win the opening handicap on Wednesday. Yeah.
As much as we love him, it's not Nunthorpe form.
There are, I worked it out the other day, by my reckoning, there are 25 horses that have beaten Mondomedge by 2 lengths this season.
You've got your daggers out for this.
Right. I haven't got my daggers out. It's a lovely horse, right, and could be really, really good. But you're talking about 6-4 to win a Nunthorpe.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
That is absolutely...
The problem is, Kills, you've got last year's 1-2 potentially turning up. Winter Power, who was pretty much thrashed by her last time. For first half of the race, you thought to yourself, she's back at York. Here she goes, back in the groove.
She's gone. She's just not the same
And
horse.
you've got Emiratiana, who it was a bit better at the July course, but the Ryans haven't been having the year that they wanted, and you still want to see a bit more from him. So the form horse is in it.
Yeah.
You can see why the market's begging for the front 2.
Yeah, you can. What about floaters, though? Isn't she absolutely crying out to have a crack at 5 furlongs? She's ever so fast. She's ever so fast. She has some York form as well.
That's the pick.
That's the pick.
You were with it last time, weren't you?
Yeah, I remember last time. Yeah. The form's solid.
Yeah.
Form's strong.
I just sense the bookmakers will go against Royal Acclaim. I think on Friday you might find certainly loads and loads of 2-1 out there because we're all. I had a few days off, and when I was just printing off stuff, I thought, what, 6-4?
There's a bit of a wobble your head tribe, isn't there? There's like a what are you doing? But there are people that after the last time at York looked at the race and took 11-2. So there are a lot of people very excited about it on Friday.
Visually, it was very good.
But I just thought this was a fun bet to have in a race, so I will chance the Platinum Queen just because I was with her at York when she won. She beat Hot Pot that day, and I think she'll just be fun. This is a small stakes race for me, and you're with me?
Yeah, I am. But I respect Keels' putting up floaters. I thought interesting to see who will ride her, and she can be very hot to post, but I suppose they might even trot her down.
Well, it's got Sylvester de Souza
is he got to Hong Kong already?
Yeah.
No, he's
still here?
He's still here because he's booked for horses.
Well, then he'll ride her.
Yeah. And they were mustered last time, and it was just York just suits these free-going, get-on-with-it sprinters, doesn't it? All right, that's the Nunthorpe on the Friday then. Are you with this Royal Acclaim? Kill says, on the figures, It's madness. Let's go to the Saturday. Of course, we start off with 2 races for you to end the week, basically. 3 o'clock and the 3:35 is the Ebor. Before we do that, is the Group 2 City of York Stakes. I've got one of my bets of the week runs in this, Pat Cooney. What's the market saying at the 5-day stage?
Very, very tentative at the moment. What I would say, the market leaders are Sacred and Sandrine, who are joint favourites. And third favourite at the moment is Kinross. So you go back to Glorious Goodwood. Well, there they are. They all ran in that race. And with Sacred, once again, the mystique about this horse continues, really. She was, I thought, on the face of it, disappointing at Goodwood last time out. But there was plenty of money around for her that day. Can she reverse the form? Well, it doesn't jump out the page at me why she should. I think Sandrine, finally, we know she's 7 furlongs is her optimum trip. But again, not much between them all, really. You could make a case out for something like Brad the Brief, maybe. This is the sort of race where it's hard to have too strong an opinion, but Sacred is a horse that the punters seem to latch on to. But yeah, good luck with that one. I'm not really sure there. I keep coming back to Sandrine saying, yeah, they tinkered between 6 and 8 with her, and 7 now seems to be the optimum trip, but tricky.
Kills, I saw your selections. We're not agreeing. You've gone for...
Because you're wrong.
Oh, well, that's what I think about you, man, regularly.
Yeah, Kinross should have won the Lennox. There would have been 2 lengths on the spin. Went at 7 furlongs. If there's a bit of dig in the ground, he's a borderline Group 1 horse, but he's still a very good horse when the ground is fast. I don't get Sacred at all. No excuses. 5th, and she's favourite to beat 2 horses that finished ahead of her. Don't get that in a million years. You look at Kinross's form at 7 furlongs. I mean, he's not completely bomb-proof. But if we get a bit of rain around, how on earth is he going to finish out the first 3? You can bet each way the first 3 places now and get your money back if you finish out in the first 3. No chance whatsoever of that.
There's a lot of horses that might not turn up here, guys.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of horses that might turn up. They're horses trying 7 furlong for the first time, or for the first time in a while. It was only 11 5-day entries.
Yeah.
I think it's an absolute cracker bet.
Well, I'm disagreeing with you, and you know I'm going to go for, because you've just set me up for it. I think Sacred will win this. When she got beaten in the Lowther last year, I was watching from afar, and I was like, how on earth has that got beaten? And her 2 runs coming back, it's especially at Goodwood last time. I think it definitely swapped the draws, and she would have been bang there. She's fast finishing. I think this is 3rd time up. This is good thing material. This is on. For Kinross, I think he's definitely best on soft ground. I'd be taking that on. I'd be looking for where the pace is coming in the race. I'm not 100% sure. You'd be hoping that maybe Pogo turns out quickly. I guess maybe Dr. Zemp, something like that. But you've got Alsa Hale, who's coming in off a horrible run. You've got Jumby, who probably won't turn up. Rohan over the trip. Brad the Brief, I suppose, might be another base angle.
Yeah, he's another one over the trip you'd worry about, don't you?
Yeah. Art Power would be interesting, but it's first run back for the Easterbees. Oisin, if you looked at this,
yeah,
you're with me, aren't you? I can tell.
No, I quite like Jumby, but I was unsure whether he'd turn up. He was a good winner at Newbury on Saturday. I thought Kinross was very unlucky at Goodwood. He got struck down the inside. Frankie had nowhere to go. Sacred was dragged back early in the race. She has to be ridden like that with cover, and I don't know how big this field's going to be, but Tom Marquand will be towards the back of the field again, and we often know the pace carries on at York.
All right, so there you go, a bit of a contentious pick there. Finally, a bit of a debate between selections. 3:35, it is the Ebor. So at 500 grand, basically, this, and we've got another Irish runner coming over, Pat. It's the Toomeys, of course, Earl of Tyrone. Loads of people with him because he's coming into it on a 4-timer. We know the Irish like to do this race. And you've got Garcia, of course, another Irish raider, Okita Sushi, who was something of an eye-catcher last time for Joseph O'Brien. Coltrane's in there. We think he's probably going to go to the Lonsdale Cup. Then it brings in ever-present Candleford. What a race.
Yeah, what a race, and what a betting heat this always is. And, we're recording this on Tuesday. I would say to him, wait till the day for the advantageous each-way terms, because everyone is going to be taking their chances on this. It's a high-turnover race, one of the high-turnover handicaps in the flat calendar. So all bookmakers kick on here. So wait for the day for your each-way terms. As things stand from an anti-post point of view, Earl of Tyrone has been the market leader. Again, good, capable trainer. This guy has come here in good form, won his last couple of races. I'm not so sure he'll go off favourite though, because the UK punters haven't really seen him run that often, and it's just a wild betting race. A horse like Garcia is always going to be interesting. Now, he ran in our Old Newton Cup. with Kieran Fallon aboard, and he missed the break that day. And it was plan B and plan C from that moment onwards. I thought they wanted to get him handy. He had a low draw that day, and he missed the kick, and he needed a helicopter from 2 furlongs onwards to get out, and he didn't get out. I did ask William Haggis about him from an Ebor point of view, because he hasn't trained the winner of the Ebor yet, amazingly. And he said he'd be the type, he'd hope to go for it, but he wouldn't be necessarily guaranteed to be a certain stayer at the trip. So that maybe comes with a little caveat there. So it just makes it very confusing. Loads of people in the office are John Leaper fans. They keep telling me this is the race for him, this is the race for him. Not quite so sure on that one.
Cliff Leapers.
Oh, yes. Lepers.
I actually ended up thinking, at Goodwood, you write in your notebook, that was unlucky, that was unlucky. Yukon Glen was very unlucky in the... I know he's a 9-year-old. I don't know why I just fall for him every time he runs, but he is only 102. He has been rated a lot higher, and he was unlucky off 102 at Goodwood. They tried to make him a group horse as a 9-year-old. Just run him in the Ebor off a mark of 102. He's one for me, first 6, first 7 places.
It's the grand plan of the Goldies, yeah.
Yeah, and
you talk about Strad coming back as 9-year-old, who will probably be back at 10 next year.
I mean, everyone loves Yukon Glen, don't they? And
Yeah,
he actually goes in his race as officially the best handicapped horse.
That's right.
Because he's £3
But
well
he's
in.
been like that in a lot of races this
I
season.
think he was 5th in it a couple of years ago off the same mark, but he was a stone higher last year when he won it. Remember, because he won the Brigadier Gerard last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a very talented horse. My only
And
thing
he was
about him is
unlucky.
if you're betting anti-post, I don't see him being a public horse.
He's not a sexy one, is
He's
he?
going to get bigger on the day than he is at the moment.
Do you think Garcia might go off, Fav?
I wouldn't be 100% sure about that. I mean, the one thing about this race, since there was a massive cash injection, the 3 of the 4 winners, it's only been 4 years since they put massive cash, 3 of the 4 winners are already running group company. And 5 of the first 6 in Bet365 Britain haven't.
That's interesting.
The only one who has is Coltrane now. He's also in the Lonsdale. So we don't know whether he runs. He's actually £2 well in.
He's the Melrose winner, isn't he, of years back?
Also, he's had a very busy season though, and it's most unusual because this is what you call a proper target flat handicap, and the vast majority of horses in the last decade that have run those races have run no more than 4 times leading up to it. 1 was making its seasonal debut, 2 others had run only once. So I look for something lightly raced. Getting something unexposed into the race isn't easy because you've got to be rated that high to get in there. But I thought Ger Lyon's licence was very much that.
Oh yes, the Jubmont horse.
Yeah, I just thought he was a big eye catcher. Up to 1 mile 4 furlong last time in a Group 3 behind Gear Up with the Chester Cup winner Cleveland in second. Wasn't given at all a hard time. That was his first run since the spring when he disappointed. He'd been gelded since. Gerline's only run 1 horse in this race in the last 10 years. That was Mustard Year. He was 4th on his first crack at it and then won it the following year. Irish do well in this race as
They
well.
do.
4 of the last 8 winners.
Yeah.
And I just thought, he's in there off 103, near the bottom of the weights as things stand at the moment. And for a horse that's run only 4 times, by Frankel, could well end up wanting a bit further than the 1.5 miles he tried last time.
This is the sort of race where our viewers will be hoping for a few to latch onto. So we're going Yukon Glen.
Yeah.
From the bookmaker.
Yeah, I also want to mention another Haggis horse.
Yeah.
I think he's been dying to run Hamish.
Hamish.
I think he's been dying to run Hamish in this race.
Yeah.
He's on 113 now. He was 6-1 favourite on the day last year, which came out because of the ground. Obviously, he won a Melrose there. He's unbeaten at the track. But he does need a bit of cut in the ground. He didn't quite get home in the
Mark
champion.
of 113.
He didn't quite get home in the champion stayers at Ascot last year, did he? Over 2 miles in soft ground. I think 1.6 with a bit of cut is absolutely perfect for him. And I get the impression because he had 1 run last year before turning up before he should have turned up for this, and then got pulled out, and then won a Group 3 afterwards. He's had 1 run this year, winning a Group 3 at Chester. He's high in the handicap, but I think he's a very, very high class horse. Only issue he's going to follow the weather, and he's also got an entry at Chester on Saturday in another group race.
Which is, of course, where he won when we saw him at their May meeting.
Exactly, yeah. So if he
well,
runs
that's
and the ground's easy enough, I wouldn't be worrying about the weight.
What's the maximum field in this?
Yeah, I was going to ask you,
22.
actually, is there such
22.
a thing as a bad draw in the Ebor? Can you be, people say, oh, he's drawn in the car park, but can they overcome 20, let's say.
I haven't ridden in it that many times. I won it once on Litigant, but I think you can kind of win from anywhere.
I
Can
think
you?
more
What's
often
the
than not,
stats?
more often than not, you're joining double
Joe
figures.
Church.
Was
Yeah,
it
he
Joe
was
Church?
at
Sorry,
Church,
yeah.
Church. It's normally double figures.
Normally double figures,
I
yeah.
also like Hamish. He was my selection. I think the trainers definitely plotted the path towards this race.
Are you suggesting that Garci is something of a sleight of hand?
No,
They're
no,
all going to lump on Hamish.
No, I just like the way they've managed him, and I think he represents a little bit of value.
I like Garci because, like a lot of people, I thought it was a good thing beaten at Haydock.
Yeah.
And I thought, now we're going to get a prize for him for the Ebor. Ever since he won there at the May meeting, that was the Illarab handicap. You remember a couple of 2 seasons ago when Illarab landed the 6th timer. We spoke to Haggis after about that on this show, Mr. Haggis, and he basically said, I've never won the Ebor, this could be the guy. This has definitely been the plan. Interesting to hear what Williams said about him, but he is half-brother to a Mile 6 winner, and that Mile 6 winner is called Midra, who was by Dabawi. This bloke is by See the Stars. Surely he stays. Yeah. So I think he probably ought to be the favourite. The other one is Okita Sushi, who it's fair to say was an interesting horse beaten.
Who, sorry?
Okita Sushi. Come on, how have I pronounced it?
I don't know, but
Come on, you know how I pronounce it.
He was second at Royal Ascot, or third. He was close up at Royal Ascot and then ran in some amateur riders.
The well-backed stablemate went about 20 lengths clear and stayed there.
Yeah, it was interesting stuff. Yeah.
But I've got one horse in here that I really am quite keen on, and it's called Global Storm. Who I like your group class stat about that. He's been running against stablemates like Yabir, and he ran at Goodwood as well. He was beaten in the race last year, but they gave him too much to do. He wants this sort of trip, and as a 25-1 shot, I'll be going Garci, Akita Saushi. I'll give you that one. Better? Or she still thinks I'm a half-wit. And that Global Storm.
Not just him, mate.
Yeah, all the viewers are like, feedback. All right, look, great stuff. That is the Ebor. Next, finally, we move on to the Naps and the next best. Okay, drum roll time here on What a Shout. It is the best bet and the next best bet at York this week. And it would be remiss of me not to give the 3-time champion jockey the floor.
my nap is Royal Scotsman in the Gimcrack.
The pressure's off that you didn't say Bide.
And my next bet is Stradivarius in the Lonsdale Cup.
Keeping it straightforward, I like it.
And then the one to look out for apart from York is at Salisbury.
Hang on, Rossi. Salisbury?
Yeah, in the Stonehenge Stakes solicited race. And I expect James Doyle to go there on Friday to ride Flying Honours.
For Godolphin?
For Godolphin.
Machine?
I don't know, but I was very impressed with his improvement from first to second start, and he looks to be a very nice horse.
You're getting the hang of this game.
Am
I've
I?
asked you for 2 and you've given us 3.
Have I?
Note that, Kealy.
What do you want, 4 now?
Yeah, exactly. Let's have a 4-timer. But interestingly, the Fox is in the race. A horse you put up before, you think he's a different class, this animal then?
Oh, no, I just don't. I'm not sure the Foxes will take in this race.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's one from Godolphin. Right, which brings me on to mine. There's a bit of a contentious point about this. We did actually just make sure that we chatted about on that so we didn't clash. And Kealy was sneering at mine. But in the Acomb, I think Local Dynasty is a machine in the making. He can't have it. He's not going to tell us why. But we saw something in the week, didn't we? And let's just come to you on this. Charlie Appleby saying that he's got an edge at the moment with his 2-year-olds because of the gallop he's using.
Really?
At home on turf, yeah. And he's, I mean, they have been winning nearly everything, their juveniles, haven't they?
Have they?
They turn up on the July course in these novice races. They make them 1-8 and they don't disappoint, do they? They always turn up. This
They
bloke,
had a
looked-
1-8 shot beaten yesterday.
did they? That was a 3-year-old at Windsor,
Yeah,
not
I
a
know.
juvenile. Stick with the programme. And this guy, he got colty beforehand. He stunk in the market. They were expecting him to win. He looked beat all the way. The way he pulled it out, I just absolutely love that. And to really annoy Kealy, I'm going to go with Sacred for my next best as well in the Sky Bet York Stakes as well. I think this is where she turns up. Keels.
Well, Kim Moss is the nap of the week. Cannot be out of the 3. You can back him now. He's a certain runner as long as he eats up and doesn't tread on a stone or anything. Won't be out of the 3. Will beat Sacred. No reason why Sacred should turn that over. So don't listen to Dave. The Clipper Logistics handicap on the Thursday. And talking about horses just being wrongly priced. I think Revich, especially you're going to get 6-7 places out of people. You can get 25, maybe 33 to 1. I think it's a massive price.
You had to go for one of the handicaps. And having said we weren't going to clash, my next best and his nap do. But that's all right. That's what it's all about. Pat?
Well, in reverse order, my next best will be going in the Ebor. Wait till the day for the sexy each-way terms. Yukon Glen, very unlucky, off St Mark last time out. I know he's a 9-year-old, but he ran very well last time out. My patience is a virtue, isn't it? So I'm going to wait for the very last race at the meeting, the 5:20 on the Saturday. My eye's drawn to Phantom Flight, trained by James Horton, PJ McDonald, already booked for it.
Yeah.
Just had the 4 runs, this fella. And when he was unlucky last time, he was third to New London in our race that we sponsored at Newmarket. New London's come out and won a group race since. That was off a 95. I thought he was a bit harshy in that he went up £3 for that defeat. But nevertheless, a horse of his quality of a marker 98 in the lucky last, only had the 4 runs, sort of caught my eye a little bit. So I'm going to wait for the last race for the Phantom Flight.
There you go. There are your naps and your next best. What do you think? Get yours in below. Well, sadly, that's all we've got time for on this York Ebor Week preview. Before I go and say goodbye to the chaps, this is a great chance for you to get involved with the Members Club at the Racing Post. If you're not already, unbelievable, just $4.99 for your first month. Yep, I am saying that. And a Racing Post notebook coming your way. You've got to be quick. You've got up until the 25th of August to capitalise on this. Just click on the link below. Unparalleled, award-winning journalism, all the spotlights, of course, Racing Post ratings, videos, whatever you want, it is there. There you go. That's my QVC bit out of the way. Oisin Murphy, you've sold yourself brilliantly once again. It has genuinely been a pleasure to have you in.
You're very kind. Well, I hope I found a few winners. I'm pleased we've agreed with some of the horses here. It takes a bit of the pressure off.
It does, absolutely. Of course, good luck with Mishriff, man.
We can all be wrong together.
Well, absolutely, fools seldom differ. Good luck with Mishriff.
Yeah, no, I'm having a crack. You know me. I'm never afraid to take on a fav, but I think there's enough reasons to think that 4-1's a fair price.
Are we sizzling every day?
We are every single day, yeah. In the office for most of it. If I can get in, especially Friday, no buses, no tubes, no trains.
Yeah, good luck to everyone going to York, of course, with the travel and that. Let's hope you found a way there, because the rail does look a bit troublesome. You're driving to the course?
Yeah, I'm there all 4 days. The hotel I'm staying in is around the corner from a place called Shambles. So let's hope that doesn't sum up my week.
Let's hope you don't think about this show. Isn't it been great to have Oisin Kills and Pat with us, with you as well? Like and subscribe, that's what it's all about. Don't forget to download the free must-have Racing Post app. You can do it on the App Store, the Google Play Store. Don't forget, it's a long week ahead. Do gamble responsibly at York and further afield this week. Well, it's Ebor Week from Dave Orton. Enjoy it.